Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Wa Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Samuel Usman Jibril. I'm here to present a short video on prayer calculation method. If we notice, most or all Islamic prayer timing apps for smartphones and tablets have different prayer calculation methods based on research is done on certain regions or countries, which are backed up from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have 5 common prayer calculation methods, namely ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, which is widely used in United States of America and Canada. We also have the Egyptian General Authority of Survey, which is done in Cairo and is widely used in North Africa. We also have the Al-Qura calculation method, which is a Saudi Arabia based calculation method that is widely used in the Gulf, in the Arab Peninsula. We also have Islamic University of Sciences in Karachi, which is mostly used in the Indo-Pak region in Asia. And lastly, another common calculation method is the University of Geophysics in Tehran. All these calculation methods are done based on the angle of the sun at different prayer times. And mostly, they all agree on when it's time for Salat al-Zuhr. That is the midday prayer. Because Salat al-Zuhr is when the sun has reached its highest point and it begins to decline. That is the time for Salat al-Zuhr. So if you look at all apps, you see mostly, generally, Zuhr prayer time is the same. And Salat al-Asr, the same thing applies to Salat al-Asr, because it is Salat al-Asr time is when the shadow of an object, the length of a shadow of an object is equal to the length of the object plus the shadow of the length of the object when the sun was at the highest point. Maghrib, the same thing applies, usually is after sunset. So if we notice, we see the differences are in Salat al-Fajr and Salat al-Isha. Islamic Society of North America based their own calculation method on the sun's position when it is 15 degrees below the horizon. That is the sun's position 15 degrees before the horizon. The same thing for Salat al-Isha, when the sun is below the horizon with 15 degrees, which is roughly about 1 hour. And the reason for fixing it at 15 degrees, because if we notice, it's the least out of all the calculation methods. It's because mostly in North America, some cities have high latitude. For example, in Vancouver in Canada, the latitude is 48.5. So in certain days of the year in summer, the sun does not go below 18 degrees. And in Cambridge, United Kingdom, with a latitude of 51.5 degrees, the sun does not go beyond 15 degrees in certain days of the summer. In Copenhagen, in Denmark, with a latitude of 54.5 degrees, the sun does not go below 12 degrees in certain days of the summer. So based on this, ISNA adopted a calculation method whereby when the sun is below the horizon with 15 degrees, it's time for Salat al-Fajr. And the same thing applies for Salat al-Isha. while Egyptian General Authority of Survey use 19.5 degrees for Salat al-Fajr and 17.5 degrees for Salat al-Isha. Qura, Saudi Arabia use 18.5 degrees for Salat al-Fajr and 90 minutes after sunset, after Salat al-Maghrib for Salat al-Isha, which is roughly about 22.5 degrees. The sun's position is about 22.5 degrees when it's 90 minutes after sunset. Initially, Saudi Arabia used to use 19 degrees for Salat al-Fajr, but recently a research was carried out in different regions again to ascertain the accuracy of the time, and it was adjusted to 18.5 degrees. University of Islamic Science in Karachi use 18 degrees for Fajr and 18 degrees for Isha, which is roughly about 1 hour 10 minutes. While Muslim World League, sorry, I forgot to mention Muslim World League earlier on. Muslim World League use 18 degrees for Salat al-Fajr and 17 degrees for Salat al-Isha, which is roughly about 1 hour 8 minutes after Salat al-Maghrib. And the last is University of Geophysics in Tehran. They use 17 degrees for Salat al-Fajr and 14 degrees for Salat al-Maghrib, after Salat al-Isha, which is roughly about 56 minutes. So based on these calculation methods, we can see none has adopted anything less than 56 minutes after sunset. This is to indicate that wherever you are, Isha prayer time is not less than 56 minutes after sunset. And mostly the question I receive is, which of the calculation method is the most appropriate one to use in Nigeria? I will advise people to use Muslim World League, because this is based on a consensus reached by different ulamas from different nations, and it was agreed that this is like an international standard. That is, Salat al-Fajr starts when the sun is below the horizon with 18 degrees, and Salat al-Isha when the sun is below the horizon with 17 degrees, which is roughly 1 hour 8 minutes. And if I compare that with the research we've done here physically, we can see it falls within the limit of our own findings, because like I mentioned in the previous video, from my own personal finding, the longest time it took for Shafaq Ahmar, that is the redness in the western horizon, to disappear for Salat al-Isha in Kaduna was 61 minutes. So 1 hour 1 minute and 1 hour 8 minutes, we can see there's no much difference. So this is a brief explanation on the prayer calculation methods used by different Islamic apps, prayer time Islamic apps. And these calculation methods were done by the authorities in these regions or in these countries based on fatwa from the scholars